All right, as I conclude this fabulous section on strings and formatting, I want to actually, aside from talking about the format strings, again, if you're not using something like MentalSpace to try and help cement some of this stuff, especially with these kind of more archaic areas of C# or any program, you're not going to learn it as well. So what I'm trying to do is show you at least how you can do this. So I have got here the slides, and what I've been doing periodically, especially when I'm dealing with goofy things like these format strings, is I've been kind of copying them and then pasting them over here with a few minor issues. Like they're not issues, but things to do. So, for example, here I've got the string. The variable is assigned, and then what that string object is trying to do with that. So that's kind of right out of here. But you don't, what they're doing here is they're kind of showing you what the output is, the result of that. And that's not super good. So what I kind of did is I took that line and I broke it into basically a definition line, which is what this is, and then a print line, which is what that is. And so what I can do now with this is I can actually run this code. It required a little bit of tweaking because another thing, notice that the code in the book, actually these guys have semicolons, but sometimes you'll find they don't have semicolons. So you still have to know what you're doing, but it's it's not quite the same as trying to type every single one of these characters. And then what I would do is I would look at this. So for example, here's the first guy, which seems to be taking this literal number and converting it to a currency. Now, the way the book explains this too, by the way, is that this format string takes the first one, variable, and let me try this again. It takes the variable, and this is the first possible string. This guy, it's the second possible string. If this guy, if it's a negative number, it's going to use this one. If it's a positive one, it's going to use this one. We'll figure that out, by the way. If you ever want to experiment with this, now we can. We can hit the backspace, run it again, change the literal, and we'll see that they both look the same. Awesome. I can sit there and go negative and see what that does. And now this guy ends up popping back and it looks like negative, right? You can really mess with this stuff. Here, they're trying to say if you've got like 0, so basically if it's not positive, if it's not negative, print, basically print 0. And that's what we can kind of see going on right there with 0. This is taking the integer 43 and putting a 0 in front. It's basically padding it out to 3 characters, or 3 numbers, I should say, and putting a 0 in front. This is a string, by the way. What's coming out of here is a string. Same deal in this case. It's taking this number and saying make it a floating point, 2 decimals, and that's what you see going on there. And then we got a bunch of date, which comes from about 2 pages further in. Date formats. If you ever want to basically take a date, the date by itself is, I never even show you what the date looked like by itself, but I've shown you in other videos. It's basically it's going to be month, day, year, and then it's going to be hour, minute, second with an AM or PM. That's the default for display format. Here it's basically saying I only want to see the date. Here it's like I want to see the date with in this case spelled out like that. All these formats are basically sitting in your it's called a long date. All these formats are sitting in the book, and obviously the Googleable too. But the most important lesson here is as we start moving forward, you're going to want to put some of this code into an area that you can play with and basically mess around with it. So I wonder, by the way, here's something I'm going to try. I'm going to try this. Well, let's see. Yeah, I don't see it in the book. I don't see it in the book, but you know what? I was almost out, but let's try this. If I put 24 there, what is it going to do? I'm going to go, and I get a runtime error. Awesome, I get a runtime error, and I'm getting a runtime error because I'm getting nothing there. It's definitely mad at this. And let's look at the quick actions. Well, none of that's super helpful. I don't know. I know what's going on. It apparently doesn't accept 24-hour time. Sometimes in databases, which is where I do a lot of my work, that string would return 24-hour time. So it would return 1300 instead of 1 o'clock p.m. But apparently that doesn't work. But I bet you if I went onto Google, I could figure that out. All right, well, that's it for that. And that's it for formatting strings. The next time I kind of start recording, I'm going to be talking ultimately about control structures, which I've sort of already introduced, but we'll go a little bit more into those.